Everybody, Amanda Johnson here once again from Awaken Village Press, and I'm so excited to be going live again. Today is a really special day because I am going to be having one of our 20 featured speakers who are going to be joining us next month for our free 4-day virtual summit, Writing the World Forward. And so today you're going to get to meet one of the authors and one of the speakers who will be joining us that week. If you are interested in being a part of it and registering for it, I invite you to go to the link in our bio, or you can just go to awakenvillagepress.com/summit. Again, registration is free, and you are going to get to hear from 20 amazing authors as they share about their stories, their journeys, their books. And today I get to have the pleasure of speaking with Gina Gretta. And Gina has been working with me now for about a year on her memoir. And I want to give you a little insight into what this book is about, and also what it isn't. And so she's been working on Tiny Heart Pieces, which is not a book about trauma in the usual sense. It is a book about what happens, I'm going to read this, when a child's buried truth finally rises through the body, the family, the legal system, and the symbolic languages that kept her alive. It is a book alive with a visual map of a child's big internal world, searching for warm, safe places amidst the destruction of truth and the battlefield protecting it inside of her. So that's just a little insight into what her book is about. And like I said, it's going to be a really beautiful book once it is in the world, but of course she is still in process, which is one of the wonderful things about this summit is you are going to get to hear from authors who have been published, who are in the process of just getting their manuscripts written and developed. And of course, then we also have others who are like about to cross the finish line and bring their books into the world. Of course, we also have some other big hitters like Zach Bush joining us on day 1. We have Dr. Russell Kennedy joining us on day 3. I'm very excited for this lineup, including many of our own Awaken Village Press authors. So I'm just waiting for Gina to get here. I don't see her here yet, though I do see another one of our speakers joining us. Thank you, Gabriella, for chiming in or joining us and viewing us. We will also be seeing you in June. So again, this summit, it's free to attend, 4 days, 20 authors, one conversation that we need to be having right now about the stories we are writing, the stories we are telling ourselves, because the stories and narratives that have gotten us to where we are today are no longer working. And we can see that in the world in where we live. We see that we are living amidst many crises, right? Emotional, financial, spiritual, right? We are living in a time where a lot of these things are falling apart or falling away. And the stories that we are writing and the stories that we are telling ourselves matter. And so again, we're going to get to hear from a lot of these authors. I'm going to see if Gina is able to find us. Let me just see if I can add her. Give me 1 second. There's always a little tech glitch. Let's just, there she is. I see her. She's here. So yes, I'm so excited for you guys to meet Gina today, hear a little bit more about her book, her journey, and she's here. Hi. Right on time. I love it. How are
Sorry
you?
about that. I'm here. Yes, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yes, me too. This is so exciting.
And I'm like, I gotta zoom out a little bit. I want to make sure I match you. You look great. So I was telling everyone a little bit about your book. I was getting them all riled up for the summit. So I've done my little spiel. So tell us a little bit more. You know, I've got you coming on I think day 2, if I'm not mistaken, to talk about, or day 3, to talk about, your journey and the process that you've been going on writing your book. And of course, I think one of the things that has stood out to me the most in this process is this reclamation of your voice, right? And like what it means to reclaim one's voice, what it means to find one's voice, to use one's voice. So just, whatever's alive for you, what do you want to say about that part of this process and journey?
Yeah, I think it was a really interesting process for me. And I have to give credit first and foremost just to you and Awaken Village Press, because I think the main thing that allowed for that whole sort of voice and the reclamation and the understanding of it to come out was the room and space that you give. And it's, instead of being contained and scheduled, there's this space for your message and your story and your narrative to kind of come alive and take on a life of its own. And you really get the space to breathe and go through that. And I think that was just so important for me personally, and then also for the book and that message to sort of come through. And I think what happened, it started as like, oh, I thought I was writing a book about trauma, right?
Mhm.
Like the very broad term that everyone's talking about. And I feel like instead of it being about trauma, it sort of changed shape and molded into this sort of life cycle of a secret, of a buried secret, of a buried truth, and sort of what that does to your language. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, I connect so much through art and symbolism and music and film and lyrics and all of these things. But underneath that was that little girl with the secret and this sort of understanding that, oh my gosh, beneath all this language I'm attaching to, there's an authentic voice out there that needs to be heard, that wants to be heard, that wants to come to life. And I think I hit this wall where my words were just falling flat because I failed to recognize that understanding. And in the space and the room I had to breathe, it sort of came through in just a really beautiful way that surprised even myself with the words that were able to kind of come to life. So I'm at a really exciting point, I think, in the book, and I'm still writing it. It's not done, as you know, but I think that, by the end, I really feel like that sort of beauty in the message can come through in a way that makes complex trauma sort of simple to identify with and understand and kind of move through that journey.
I love that. Wow,
Yeah.
so well said. Thank you. And as you're speaking about this, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. And I'm just, again, a little plug. This is just a taste of what you're going to get if you join the summit, because Gina's going to be going so much more deep, we're going to go even deeper into this. But just to keep like skimming the surface a little bit more, though you're doing this so beautifully, is, as you've been going on this journey, you have that space and you took the time that you needed to let that voice emerge and let those truths and all that come to the surface
A lot
even
of
more
time.
clearly. Yeah, multiple times, right?
A lot of
What
time.
a lot of times, because of course it's also like it's so cyclical, right? There's this other question around, because what I love about where you are in the process, and one of the other reasons I think you're so well positioned to speak about this at the summit, is that you're still in, like, you haven't, and the book isn't done, right? You're still in it, you're living it, you're like in the and you certainly were, months ago, as you were in the process of, writing and trying to write, but still living it out and being in that process. And can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that's a really, um, I think it's a beautiful place to be. I think it can be a really destabilizing place to be. I think it can be a really
Oh my gosh.
confusing place
Yeah.
to be. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that was such a big, as you know, like huge part of this journey for me. I think that what sort of happened for me is as I was writing and detailing and kind of outlining for myself the stories and the narrative and kind of what took place as the book was moving along, I was living out those raw emotions and those feelings all over again, as if the situations had been happening in real time. And then you sort of have this magnifying lens on the actual events and the little traumas or the cyclical trauma playing out because this secret is alive and you don't understand it yet. And it was destabilizing because I think what happens is there's this sort of magnifying lens, like I was saying, on the fragmentation, like on those little fragments and those pieces that maybe you didn't understand at the time and you didn't even understand yet looking back. But when you write it out and you write your story, I think that you see it in a whole new light, a big, broad spectrum where all these little pieces come to life. And maybe some of them you haven't yet looked at or healed or understood. And then all these kind of things start clicking, and you're like, oh, wait, oh my God, this is my life. That was my life. And I didn't see all these moments and
Tiny
these things.
heart pieces. You didn't
Yep,
see all your little tiny heart pieces.
all the tiny little broken pieces, right? And so it was sort of like, wait, I thought I was good, but maybe I'm not good. And you kind of feel through all of those raw emotions you maybe didn't even know that you had at the time, right? And I think I know that was destabilizing for me a lot of times, because I think what I came to realize is not so much the secret or the trauma or the actual underlying main event or root cause, right? It was sort of this huge heartbreak, like these what really came through was like, oh my gosh, this grief, like I don't know if I mourned all of these people and all of these relationships and all of the loss that carrying this burdened truth caused me. And that was tough. That was really tough. And then it causes you also to take a deeper look and a larger lens at yourself and how you played into that and where you want to be accountable as you're moving through this and forward. We're like, okay, well, I don't have to play out that cycle anymore. And these are the pieces I didn't notice. So, how do I want to reapproach that and sort of re enter the world or re enter the book from that space? And that's like a whole new thing, because then the person who started writing the book is not the person that you are anymore when you take that space. And then you're like, wait, is my book even going to make sense because I'm finishing it in this light and I'm writing now from this point of view? But that point of view doesn't know the person who started. So it's sort of like, how do I bridge that gap? And, that was also, as you know, destabilizing. So it's like, wait, do I have to delete my whole book?
Well, let's talk that. I love that that's where you went with this, Gina, because that is, we've talked about this, right? And you're definitely not alone in that. And equally, I would love for you to sort of shine a light on that for those listening who might be having experienced something similar, or maybe they will experience that one day. And I guess I know, for me, I know we did talk about this a little bit of how the person who you were when you started is not the person you are when you finish. And even now, you're not the person that you were here, and you're still not finished, right? And so you're
Right.
still on this path. And and of course, I think I did say, no, don't go and delete it all. Don't go delete everything. Like let's
Leave it
pause,
alone.
pump the brakes, right? But how, why don't you share from your own perspective, how did that feel, or where are you kind of settled with it now? Because again, you're still in the process. You are not yet complete. And so how are you approaching it with that knowing that you're not the same person, and here you are?
Right. I think what happened for me is that there was this huge realization of like choice, and that being so important, like realizing like, okay, here's this cycle of a person whose narrative is constantly getting reframed and given voice by somebody else and maybe prescribed, and just it takes shape through everybody else's lens the whole time. And when I had that sort of realization, and how I'm moving forward now is like, okay, wait a second, no, I have a choice and I get to share this from my truth and what I know is true and the actual truth of the experience and what happened for me, right? Because nobody knows that, like, nobody knows your story better than you know it yourself. And nobody knows what you need better than you know yourself. But I think what happens for so many survivors, and myself included in this book, is there is such a longing for certainty. Like you just want to know, like, what's going to make me feel better? What's going to fix this? So when other people come in, like, hey, I've been through this, or hey, I have credentials, or hey, I've known you your whole life. This is what it is. It's sort of like you realize in seeing that, like, no, wait a second, that's not what it is. I know the truth and I know what I need. And yes, it felt good to sort of cling to that certainty and just hope to feel better. But throughout the book, I think what I was coming to realize, and especially in speaking in symbolism and art form and just everything I was creating, is like this voice is begging and screaming to come out in my own words. And so, as much as I think we want to attach to the certainty of somebody else, and I think at certain points in your journey that can be really beneficial and important, there comes a point where you need to kind of break free. And I think the ending of the book is so much more about my voice having broken free from that, kind of like unchained, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, so that's kind of what
I love
what
that.
happened for me and what unfolded in that time.
So powerful. And I mean, just to add to what you said, but I think that was so well said is, so many of us do think, oh, do I have to go back and like delete the first half or the first, and it's not that you won't get to go back through it with this new perspective, right? Because I think that
Right.
is also part of the process. And letting those early chapters, and I mean, really, I think you've written like more than half the book already, right? So it's like letting the first half or those first chapters still be the version of you who did write it, because that was the part that also deserves a voice and deserves to
Right.
be heard, and let the audience and the reader connect with that version and
Right.
go on the journey and the evolution with you, right? So like, as we also as the reader get to go, oh, something's changing, she's changing, the message, it's evolving with the book. And I
Right.
think that to me is some of the most powerful. And I mean, to me, it's why I do what I do. It's why I love working with individuals like yourself on these really important stories, because that evolution, that transformation is so powerful, both for the
Right.
author and the reader, right?
Right. And I think that, your perspective on that and Awaken Village Press and the sort of container for which it moves so gracefully and generously really just sheds so much light on everything you said sort of coming to life. Because I think what happened for me in that, and through, what you're describing and what you give space for, I was so ashamed. Like in the year break that I took, I think I was dealing with and battling like these feelings of shame and embarrassment. And I was ashamed of that girl and embarrassed of that girl. Like, how could you let all of these things just keep happening? How could you let other people let your life unfold for you in this cycle? Um, and the space and sort of your perspective on it and how I should keep that first half allowed me the room to breathe and realize, like, wait a second, no, like, I love that girl. And she was actually awesome. And she was trying and she was fighting and she was surviving. And, I learned to hold that space. And I want that version of me to have a voice. And I want that version in that place to have a voice, because I think it's so relatable. I think so many of us go through those feelings when we're dealing with the complex feelings of what it means to have this hidden truth that you couldn't put words to for so long. And then when the words come out and you think it's going to be this like, oh, the truth has evolved, it's come out, it's real, it's alive, and now everything's going to be better. And so often that's just not the case. You deal with, oh, you're not believed. Other people try to describe it, reframe it, just put a different lens or light on it and you, and it's messy and hard. And oftentimes that is more damaging than the actual event itself,
Oof.
realizing like you're sort of actually being punished for something that you carried that happened to you. And it's really it's just challenging to be going through that and writing that out and realizing that. And then, you know, so I think I held a lot of space now through you to
Mm.
appreciate and respect and love that version and have grace and, empathy and compassion for her. And I think that voice is important to be there and to sort of show for the involvement that it
Mm.
comes to at the end.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so well said. I love that this turned into an opportunity to love that version of you, that part of you, like
Right.
that alone, holy smoke. So as we wrap up again, just I'm this to me is like you're just getting a taste of what we are going to get to dive into on this summit with Gina on
Oh
day
my gosh.
3. So please, if you have not yet registered, make sure we're going to turn those dings off. Make sure you registered at awakenvillagepress.com/summit, or go to the links in our bio or wherever. It's again free to register. Grab a seat. We'd love to have you there. But before we sign off for today, Gina, I mean, you just shared this like, whew, it's a lot, right? It's a lot
A
to go
lot.
through to relive. So why would anyone do it? What do you want to
Well,
offer anyone out there if they're like, well, I maybe I don't want to write my book after all. What do you want to
oh my
offer?
God. Yes, if I made anybody feel that way, I'm so sorry. I will say it's so worth it. It's worth every second, every pain, every emotion, everything that comes to life, because I think what unfolds and comes out on the other side is just so powerful for anyone dealing, even if it's not trauma or a buried secret that you're carrying and sort of working through. I think understanding how your own story and voice looks on the page and sort of the emotions then that you get to see it in a new light and become this beautiful, amazing version of yourself from the person that started to the person that finishes is it's worth every second, every painful part and every really beautiful part too. It's I think it's very just healing. I think that, there's a whole thing for narrative therapy, right? When you're writing your story, just how healing that can be, how powerful that can be. Because once you put it on the page, it's out there. If there's a problem in there, it's out there for you to see, for you to have a new lens to sort of fix it or work through it or, look at it however works for you. And I think that's a really beautiful thing, beautiful place to come to.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having the courage and the gumption and the tenacity. Because to your point, not everyone is going to write a book and not everyone needs to write a book. But for those who
Right.
really feel called, it is not for the faint of heart and it requires a lot to do it. Um, and at least the books that I believe the world needs right now, right? And I think that's the whole point of this summit, writing the world forward. Like we are with everything happening, I think it's important to reconnect with the authors, the voices themselves. Like, who are these people who are
Right.
writing these books? What is they are writing from, you are each writing from inside your own becoming. This is not something that's just being put together, through the powers that be, which we have so much access to these days. These stories to me matter. So again, I'm just so grateful that you're on this journey of bringing tiny heart pieces into the world. It's going to be amazing when we get to celebrate that, and that'll be a whole separate celebration. Um,
Yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait for that moment. But,
Amazing.
more so with the summit, I'm just excited, and honored really, when I look at all the other beautiful authors who are on this summit and sort of their voices and their stories. I'm just honored to sit alongside everyone. It's just so many beautiful people with so many beautiful voices that, like you said, I think are so, so important to hear and give voice to, especially at this point in time.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I can't wait for our deeper dive that week. I think it's June, if I'm remembering, June 16th, if I have
Yes.
this correct.
Yes.
So make sure, again, register. You can come see Gina. You can come see as many as you want. We would love to have you there. And until then, Gina, I can't wait to keep diving into your book and your project. So more to come.
Oh,
Much more to
thank you
come.
so much. This was so fun. So thank you for having me. And I'm just really looking forward to this summit and the rest of this process.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And thanks for everyone watching. Appreciate you.
Thank
See you
you.
in June, June 14th.
See you in June.